As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
Welcome back, Reluctant Preppers. We're privileged to have a special guest tonight. James Walchuck is the CEO and president of Zinc One Resources. You know, if you've been watching our channel, that we've had several interviews with leaders in the gold and silver mining industry. We've also had people talking about lithium, and zinc is our first time to talk about that. It is a strategic metal. It's one of the top three metals that's mined for industrial uses. And we have James here with us on Reluctant Preppers to fill us in on what he sees in the future for this industrial commodity. And Jim, thank you for joining us here on Reluctant Preppers.
Well, thank you for having me. Happy to be there.
One of the questions I wanted to connect for our audience is why zinc? And if you could help us understand what are zinc's unique properties of value and interest. I just have to relate that takes me back to 8th grade earth science class in junior high, where we were seeing a different movie every week about different industrial minerals. And when we saw the one on zinc, I was just taken with the effectiveness for hot dip galvanizing and protecting, rust corrosion inhibition and that sort of thing. But in reading up more recently about zinc, it goes a long ways beyond that, which is still a primary industrial use of it, but there's a lot of other uses for zinc beyond galvanizing. Could you go ahead and fill us in on why the focus on zinc, why it's an important industrial material?
Well, I'd be happy to. I mean, like you, I'm a little bit of a novice right now when it comes to zinc, but I'm learning very quickly. And in fact, I'm completely enamored with it because you're absolutely right. As I dig into this thing, zinc is just a phenomenal metal. I mean, it truly is. I mean, if you look at the broad use of it and compare it to some of the other ones, you can use it for paint, for batteries, for plastics, for rubber products, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics. It's even in your skin screen, so it's saving you from cancer. It's a wonderful little metal. It truly is. But by and large, it's an industrial metal. It was back when you were in grade 8 and you saw that film, and it is now. If you look at the use of zinc, and there's a reason why the price has risen over the last little while. But I mean, particularly, you hit it on the head. Its primary use is for galvanizing steel and preventing rust and corrosion of iron and of steel. But it's also 8% of it's used for die casting, and 14% is used for alloys. 20% makes brass and bronze. So if you look at the consumption from an industrial point of view with galvanizing and basically alloys and die castings and brass, you're talking about 89% of the zinc being used for essentially a strictly industrial purpose, with the other 11% doing the peripheral things. And those peripheral things, I think, will grow over time as well as people become more and more knowledgeable about its usage, and as people find new and better ways to use the metal. But that's particularly why I think. And zinc is not that common. It's fairly common, but I'm kind of segueing into talking about the situation of zinc right now. So if you don't mind, I will sort of segue into that.
Yeah, one of the things that was surprising to me when I looked into it was the dramatic price action over the last year, and related to that, the warehouse stocks of zinc seeming to be depleted. So if you could just kind of give us your understanding of these. You mentioned its relative scarcity compared to some other industrial materials, and tell us why is that, and what trend do you see developing there?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the price of gold the price of zinc has gone up from say 40 or 50 cents over the last 18 months to right now. I think it's sitting at about 27 US. That's a phenomenal rise if you do it on a percent basis. And why? Why would this poor little metal that really doesn't get much notice all of a sudden take a parabolic lift in its price? And I think really what you want to do is approach it the way you've discussed a few things. Is take a reason why, like, stockpiles are depleting. Why are they depleting on the London Metal Exchange? Because they're down. They're down big time, which means people are taking it. It could be some speculators trying to get in there as well and grab some because they know the price is going to go higher. And there is some of that. Other people are taking as much as they can afford right now because why? And the market's pretty smart. There's a lot of smart people that are in the market. They know something. And the research that I've done has told me 26 mines have been shut in China right now, and that's completely as a result of ore deposits getting smaller, but primarily the fact that they're polluting their area dramatically. And the people living in there are screaming. They're hating this. I mean, these are very toxic environments that they've created. And the Chinese version of the EPA has come in and said, shut these mines down. And they will not open them until they have proven to the Chinese government that they can operate them to a Western standard and take care of this terrible polluted areas that they've created. So all that, China used to be an exporter of zinc. They are now an importer of zinc. And the smelters themselves have not been importing a lot right now because they're using up their stockpiles because the zinc price has gone up. And I think they're kind of hoping that the zinc price is going to come down again, but I don't see that. So they're going to be a bit of a problem when their stockpiles kind of run out. Even as China stopped or lessened their importing of zinc, the stockpile in the London Metal Exchange continues to go down.
Yeah, that was something that really caught my eye. And
it's dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes you see short-term trends like over a quarter or a year, but I looked over the past 5 years, and the stockpile in the London Metals Exchange for zinc was dropping pretty steadily over the past 5 years, from like over 1.2 million tons 5 years ago to less than 0.4 million tons right now, and it just seemed just like this. Just one way downward, and that only could go so far.
Trend, yes, the trend is downward, and because again, 26 mines shut down in China. China was an exporter; they're now an importer. They shut down Brunswick mine probably 9 years, big mine in Atlantic Canada. They shut down the Lachine mine, which is a massive producer out of Ireland. They shut down the Century mine out of Australia, which is a huge producer, and I can't tell you how many mines have come on stream because there are none. And I don't know how many are actually in the works. So it's created a deficit. And there is no clear-cut sign of replacement right now for that lost production. I hate to say the stars are aligned for a good zinc price, but I'm afraid they are right now. The only thing that would do that is if somehow China caved and started allowing these mines to start producing. And if they do that, I think they'll be triggering a lot of issues and riots in the areas where these mines are right now, because they have some serious issues.
Even over the past year, we've seen zinc price ramping up from, like you mentioned, in ounces and in tons. It's like from $1,500 a ton to like $2,800 a ton and even more over the past year. It's just if you compare that to almost any of the other commodity prices, whether it's precious metals, whether it's other useful industrial minerals, whether it's petroleum or anything, it's the one that's just going up at a straight clip. And so you can understand where that would happen after the kind of limits had been reached on the stockpiles, but it seems like as the stockpiles have been diminishing and the sources have been reduced of production, the price has been increasing just steadily all along the way.
Yes. I mean, the need for zinc hasn't gone away. The ability to acquire zinc is becoming problematic. And you pointed it out too. With the London Metal Exchange, you can see a physical drop over the years. It's not being replenished, and it's simple economics, right? Supply and demand, and demand is far greater than supply right now. And there's nothing on the horizon to offset that. I don't think you're going to have countries with strategic metals or strategic stockpiles trying to flood the market. That's not going to happen. So basically, you want to be targeting companies that have the ability to get some production as quickly as possible. That would be why I joined Zinc One. That was the whole manifest of this company. This is the mandate of Zinc One, is not to go exploring.
When was Zinc One founded, and what is its charter?
It was founded essentially last August, September. That's when I was approached. Just so you give me, can I give you a little bit of background of where I come from?
Absolutely.
I'm not a geologist. I'm a mining engineer. I've been a mining engineer for 37 years. I've spent I would say over half of it in operations, 5 years of it in actually doing feasibility studies, a couple of years in actually construction of a mine and developing of the mine that I actually designed. That was a very unique experience. And then I moved into the junior mining experience, which is where I am right now. So I understand the three stools. I understand the design of a mine, the construction of a mine, and the operations of the mine. My wheelhouse is not exploration, and that is not what I want to do. I want to go build mines. Zinc One was formed knowing that this market is a good time for zinc, but it's also formed of it was backed by very smart people that understand things happen and that cycles go through it. So they understand that if this is zinc's time, this is the time not to go exploring. This is the time to actually go build something and use this window of opportunity to actually create something, so that when things do change a little bit, you're established and you're a producer and you're marching along. So that was their goal, is to create a company and then back it financially and then find the right management team that can go out and do that, and then find the projects that can fit in there. That's the mandate. So we are trying to look for brownfields. In other words, we're looking for deposits or resources that are well-defined or well understood that can be brought into a feasibility level very quickly, and then from there go into construction very quickly. And we want the right team in place that understands the permitting and design and construction aspects of actually doing that. And that's what we've got now with the company. We were formed, we decided to go out and acquire a company called Forester Metals, particularly because they have the Bongra deposit in northern Peru, fairly close to the Ecuadorian border. It's in the Amazonas, what they call their state or their province is called a department. It's a well understood deposit, and that's why we decided, in order to acquire a deposit, we would have to take out the entire company. And it's that good of a project that we're doing that, and we expect to have that done very shortly. And if you follow the press releases of Zinc One, you'll be able to understand the mechanics and what we're going through right now to do that.
I saw on your website there was some maps and there were some presentations with some graphics that show multiple developments actually.
Yes, we have. In particular, the one that we have was the Scotia project in BC, which we'll be doing a little bit of work on this year. That's a high-grade deposit, but we need to do a little bit of drilling and have it reassessed from the resource model. We want to update that. And that would then lead us into doing another exploration program on that. And we will be doing that this year as well. That's higher grade in Canada. So one of the other focuses of Zinc One is to find good jurisdictions in which to do business. So we're predominantly focusing in North and South America. And inside that, we're looking at countries that are very easy to do business with, such as Mexico, Peru, Chile, and Canada, and some of the states in the United States that are very mining friendly. They're pro mining. We don't have time to try the long-term game. We're not interested in it. There's lots of great deposits in bad jurisdictions, and there's lots of terrible deposits in good jurisdictions. We're interested in good deposits in good jurisdictions, period. And we're focused fully on zinc. That's kind of our company in a nutshell. Good people with good projects in good jurisdictions.
Something I saw that was a bit of a surprise to me, although I guess it shouldn't have been, because I've heard, for example, that some other materials, like, for example, cadmium is often found where copper is mined, or silver is found where copper is mined, that sort of thing, that there's actually silver found together with the zinc in for example, your one of your Peru sites there, you call it a polymetallic mineralization.
In the Escalante deposit. Yeah. That's actually, you're very correct. It's that one in particular is much more of a silver with some zinc in it,
okay,
as opposed to a zinc property with some silver in it. It's more of we see that more as a silver play, but you're right, it's going to have zinc and possibly some lead in there too. Whereas the Bongra deposit itself is basically purely zinc with a tiny little bit of lead. There's no silver in it. It's a pure zinc play with phenomenal grades. I mean, it's a ridiculously good project, and that's why we went after it. Just wanted to make sure that we've covered off the base on some of the other questions you had on a macro level. I don't know if we've done that or...
Yeah, looking at the future demand that you see for zinc is based on industrial demand and some of these new applications that you say are minor now but could grow in the future. What do you see forward that makes you convinced that zinc has a strong future?
Okay, let's start with, as we said before, you can understand why there's a much bigger need for the product than what's being actually delivered to be able to be used. So supply and demand curve is definitely on the side of zinc. But having said that, what's happening out in the world right now is pretty interesting to you. I would take a look on a macro level, taking a look at China. And China's, I think, middle class is now is reached a saturation point where it's very similar to when North America, and in particular the U.S., middle class became strong enough where it really didn't need to export because its middle class was so strong that it could self-generate its own economy. With some exports, of course, going out, but really the middle class is strong enough where it's buying a lot of its own production, its own country's production, and that's happening. Then you combine that with basically the U.S. sort of pulling out of the TPP, and that left a void on leadership, and now they're inviting China to take that leadership role. Well, China to then create more influence is going to obviously start spending money on different Asian countries to get them for China to actually exert more influence in that area. So they will be spending money on infrastructure projects in countries like Malaysia and Indonesia and Vietnam. You have the American economy, which I think is turning around, even though Yellen has raised the rates a little bit. I don't think that's going to impact the need for America to replace its infrastructure, and there's been a complete commitment by the Republicans to go ahead and do that and create those jobs. That's going to require additional zinc. And what most people don't understand is that they're not actually watching another sleeping giant called India. And India is basically come out with a plan to build 7 megacities by 2030 and another 18 on top of that. Or 16 on top of that by 2040 or 2050. They have their long-term plans, and the last article I read is that they were committed to 24 megacities, 23 industrial parks, 6 airports, 3 ports, and a huge rail line between. All this is happening between this area between New Delhi and Mumbai, which is about 1,000 kilometers. So you have China starting to become looking like it was China was 20 years ago or 15 years ago. Again, India does not have a great deal of rich resources in which to draw upon. So they will be part of this program of buying and selling of resources, and they're going to be doing a lot of buying if they want to grow these cities. And they have a plan to move 15 to 20% of the population into these cities. We're talking about a country with 1 billion people in it. This is a very serious commitment by the Modi government, and most of the world is even unaware of that. But they will quietly have to interject themselves into the markets to be able to acquire these resources in which to do this build out of infrastructure and of these cities. So in the short term and long term and medium term, you're always going to get cycles of up and down. But I think the general cycle is going to be an uptrend because there's currently just not enough demand for the product. I mean, there's more demand for the product than is available for it. So I think it's a fabulous product, a fabulous resource, a fabulous space to be in right now. I spent a lot of time kind of researching that and talking to the people that wanted to form Zinc One before I jumped in, and now I'm just fully committed. I'm pretty excited by it. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. I'm excited by the project that we've got, and I could talk infinitum about the project because it's one of the best I've ever worked in.
Well, on that regard specifically, you mentioned your focus you expect to be not so much on exploration, but on ramping from development into production. What kind of a timeline do you have, and what specific milestones are you looking forward to?
Great question, by the way. Absolutely great. But I'm going to hedge it just a little bit. Here's the thing: is that our major project flagship will happen when we close our deal with Forrester taking out that company. A lot of the people that are in Forrester will end up working for us. We really like them. We get along. This is an absolutely friendly one, and we're very, very happy with the talent of a lot of the people that are on Forrester, especially in Peru and with their CEO, who was very knowledgeable. What happens is that in Peru, they actually reached out to the Canadian government and said we would like to revamp our regulatory system of permitting for environmental and for mines, and they did that, and the system was revamped. So it is very similar to the systems that we have in Canada, so I understand this very well. But it is a system. It's a progress, and we want to make sure that it was done in the correct manner and in a sequence that's required to get it done. So there is a process. We're thinking that we can have this project moved from where it is right now, which requires some drilling, and to move it from a historical resource to production in less than 48 months. And what we will shoot for is less than 36. And that's the goal of everybody that I just spoke to. I've made 2 trips down to Peru over the last 5 weeks. And we're all on board, and we're all pretty excited about doing that. We're hoping that we can do it sooner, but it is a process. I mean, it's not like we can do the work, but there are people that have to actually go through the work that we submit, ensure that it's done to a standard, and before they'll approve it and allow us to go to the next stage. Having said that, this is not a complicated project. It's called the Bongara project, Bongara, Bongara in Spanish. It's a deposit that has extremely high-grade zinc oxide sitting on surface. And by that, I mean the grade of this stuff that's sitting on surface is 20 to 25%. At today's prices, say $1.25 zinc, 20% correlates to about $560 rock sitting on surface in value, right there. Those are underground grades sitting on surface. It's not deep. In fact, when I was there the previous trip, one of the geologists was poking away at some of the ground, and it actually just kind of looked like dried mud because it's so weathered where it was. And as you go deeper, of course, it gets a little harder, and you're going to have to move into drilling and blasting. But where we were actually chipping it off, and I said, "What's the grade of that stuff?" And he says, "Oh, overall, this particular area is running 40%."
Oh my!
So I'm going, this is sitting on surface, really? And he says, "Yeah, and this is the beauty of this thing." So there is a historical resource on it, and now we have a phased approach where we're going to try to drill that, and we think that there are areas that the people that had this were very professional. They had limited resources. They couldn't explore the way that you would typically resource, and they were sort of trying to just prove that you can actually mine this thing. They did a great job with what they had. 2008 came and it collapsed, so the previous operator said, "You know what? This isn't our core business. We're going to go back to our core business." And they let it lapse. It returned to the owner. Forester did a deal with the owner, did a very good deal, and we had to take Forester out to get the project. Sorry, long-winded, but that's sort of the sequence.
Sure.
But this project is well understood. It's been looked at, drilled by numerous companies, and actually operated and mined. So we have all that information. And we made a very, I would say, knowledgeable decision of why we went after this deposit. We think there's a huge amount of potential to grow it. We think that we can be producing, our target is to produce 50,000 tons of zinc metal in 3 to 4 years, if not sooner, if we can. We won't be the holdup. It'll be the regulatory system, and we actually understand how that regulatory systems work. So we know what to do. We know how to get it done. And all the people that are now engaged that we started building our team. We have Greg Crow, who's well known. He's one of our directors, and he's a mine operator developer. You have myself. That's my wheelhouse. Not an explorer, but I got 37 years into mine operations, design, and construction. And you have Bill Williams, who's with Forester, and he's the same guy. He's a PhD geologist, but has spent many, many years operating companies and developing them. You have this wealth of experience combined with very good, knowledgeable people in Peru. Bill has spent a lot of time in Peru, and Peru is one of these wonderful jurisdictions where you want to be if you're a miner. 50% of their GDP is coming from mining. They welcome you. They want to see mines built. They want them done the correct way. They want you to do things without upsetting the community. They want you to engage the community, and this is all stuff that we've all done in the past. And it's second nature for us to behave in a manner like it's treated like you're in North America,
right?
And things are going to work,
right?
It's not rocket science. You don't try to. The fastest way to get anything in production is a really simple method. It's called doing it the right way. Don't take shortcuts. Do it the right way, and guess what? You'll get your permits. And I've seen it over and over again. If you try to take shortcuts and say, I know somebody, wink, wink, nod, we can get in here, it doesn't work. It's not the way you do things. It's not professional, and it's just going to slow you down because inevitably a professional in the system will find out and say, what the hell are you guys doing? We've all been through it. The people that are on our team, we know what to do. We don't do that. We do it the right way, and we do it very effectively and efficiently. And we have this wonderful project. Like I say, the grades that are sitting on surface are 20% and above. And we're going to drill that out in a phase 1, discover. We're hoping to see that there are areas where we can actually drill areas that should have been drilled that weren't. For example, they did a lot of trenching in the previous. We have all that historical data. But if you do some trenching and you build big test pits, you can only go so far before you hit some hard ground. Hopefully you're in the ore and you get a good sample. But if you're digging a test pit and you hit hard ground and you're not in the ore yet, you could be in the hard hanging wall and not in the ore below it. And there are numerous occasions where you say, there should be ore there. Why isn't ore there? And then you find out, well, the pit stopped because they hit hard ground. They couldn't dig it any further. So we're going to go and start testing with these initial program, a small program, to start testing these areas and see if that concept is right. The previous people that did the studies, to make it easier on themselves to do a calculation, selected a specific gravity of about 1.67, which is the same as dirt, wet dirt. It's not rock. So if we can get the SG to say 1.85 from 1.67, you just increase the ore resource by the 11%. It's that simple. Those are things that we will be doing in this next phase, and then we'll migrate from that phase right into phase 2, which is going to be probably another 300 drill holes, coming up with what we hope is a new resource that can be put into a feasibility study or a pre-feasibility study or a feasibility study early next year. And that's kind of the goal of the company right now, to develop we know that there's a resource there. There's no doubt about that, because it's historical. It has to be brought into a compliance with Canada's 43-101, which is a good thing. We need to know exactly what we have, because failure to understand your resource is going to cause a failure. It just will. You need to know what you've got, and you can design from it. You build your base, you build your very good base, you understand the metallurgy. A lot of the holes that we'll be drilling in phase 1, we'll be twinning them to get holes that we can send for metallurgical testing, so we truly understand how to extract it at the highest rate that we can, the recovery rate that we can get. Again, this is all going to save us time down the road. So we're saying 48 months, but we might be able to do it a lot sooner by doing these small things that we all know, the people that I work with and the people that run this company know how to do. Sorry, I felt like you had a question there.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, James, if people are interested in finding out more about your mission and your goals, where can they go ahead and do their further research on their own? Yeah,
the best thing, obviously, zinc1.com is a good source, and that's a website that, remember, we're a relatively new company. I've been focused on acquiring this asset and getting a good understanding of the asset itself in Peru, and understanding what we need to do with the Coast project. But we'll add more and more information as you go to Zinc1. But if there are any specific questions, just email info@zinc1, all letters, not numbers, info@zinc1.com. And somebody will reach out back to you and give you a specific answer that you have. And then I fully welcome anybody to just search the internet on Zinc's forecasts and things like that. And there's a lot of information out there that you can build up and get a good feel for this particular metal and why its future is, over the medium term, is still very, very good. It's going to take a while for a lot of mines to come on stream.
Yeah, it sounds like the timing is kind of like a perfect storm between the dwindling supplies, the burgeoning demand, and these high probability resources that you've got, and a business process to go with it in the right jurisdiction and a proven track record. So Thank you, James, for enlightening us on this. I know for me this has been an education. I assume it will be for most of our listeners as well. And I've included the links that you just mentioned, both the website address and the email link at the bottom of the description here for anyone who wants to follow up and find more. So the tagline of our channel is helping people to be aware and prepared. It certainly sounds like you are helping to increase people's awareness of a special opportunity that you're making preparations to position yourself for the next decade of a very special situation here. And we just thank you for joining us here on Reluctant Preppers.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.